Matt Fallon filling in. In the meantime, going to have some fun today. The Art Lewis Show is presented by Westside Decorating Center. You can visit them at 5789 State Street in Saginaw or online at westsidedecoratingcenter.com. Happy to be along with you on this Friday, October 31st. It's Halloween 2025. I almost said 2026. We're not quite there yet. Happy to be along with you. And I've got a guest, at least for the first hour here. We might open up the phones, take some calls a little bit later on. But in the meantime, I invited him on because I know he has opinions about Halloween. And I love talking to people with opinions. It's Kareem Bowen.
Ooh, happy Halloween 2026. No,
not yet.
And next week it'll be 2026. So
might as well be.
That's how time's been moving.
Yeah, exactly. Kareem, the host of United Shades of Grey on the weekends here on WSGW and involved in so many things around the Saginaw community. Thanks for getting up and hopping over to the station. You made it here with 30 seconds to spare.
Hey,
so.
you know how I am.
I
am like Usain Bolt. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get it done.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we talked about this on your show, United Shades of Grey. I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago or something like that.
Last year.
So to give some context about your show, we talk about all kinds of things. Basically, it has to do with modeling, discussions where we disagree respectfully.
Absolutely.
And usually it centers around conversations about race because that's a very multifaceted topic. But we go political and we go religious too because
to keep all of us are men of faith, right?
Yes. Your co-host Mark Bassett and then myself, I hop in on the microphone every so often, and all of us are men of faith, but of different faiths.
Yeah, and that's really interesting. I was thinking about that just the other day. Someone was saying, "Hey, I ran into your buddy Mark at the diocese," and I was like, "Yeah, he is Catholic."
Yeah, that's right. I forget that sometimes. But we talked about how Halloween should be celebrated, if it should be celebrated at all, and kind of its historical origins. Personally, I don't see much harm in it, but I've done some thinking this year. I was doing some thinking because
growth is happening, huh?
I've been getting into the faith discussions and really researching things. And I still kind of agree with my previous point. I've changed a little bit on it. But I want to know what's your position when it comes to Halloween celebration. Should it be celebrated? How should it be celebrated? What do we do with Halloween?
Well, okay, and I think thank you first of all for I think this conversation. I think that it's happening in places. I see it in social media conversations. So when I was a kid growing up, it was all about, hey, let's get a pillow sack, let's get it full of candy. And we were doing it because it was candy day, basically. We got to dress up and we went out and got candy. As I grew older, and I would probably say up until the time I was probably about 20 years old, when I started to really kind of activate my faith, I had no problems with Halloween. Halloween was because I didn't associate it with anything other than scary movies. I mean, as a kid, think about this: scary movies, haunted houses, which are always a good scare, is always a good time, and tons of sugar. That's a perfect combination.
It's a great day. Yeah.
But as I've evolved and I've become more active in my faith and centered around my belief and really desirous to be like Christ, it's become problematic. The more I study about it and the celebrations of witches and goblins and all of those things are problematic for my faith because now, when you know better, you do better. Now it is associated with me with not just sugar and sweets and fun things, but really, the opening of one's spirit to a darker world, the evolution of witches and just the entire dark side of the holiday. And so for that reason, I abstain.
You abstain?
Yeah, I abstain. I don't.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I don't. Yell at people for not doing it because after all, how can I do that when I saw it as a fun thing? But in my spiritual awakening and my desire to really be an image of who Christ is, I don't think that it's consistent with my faith. So I abstain.
As I research different perspectives on this, because it's a fun topic to get into this time of year. That's kind of what I've seen is let your conscience be your guide.
Yep.
Here's some guidelines just based on what X, Y, or Z faith background has. But let your conscience be your guide tends to be the topic. I think it's interesting given the history of the holiday, where it came from and what it's become. Because
talk about that transition. I think that's important.
Well, it originates with All Hallows Eve.
Yep.
The night before All Hallows Day, All Saints Day, the day that the Roman Catholic Church set aside to celebrate all who had died in the faith. Because they ran out of days in the year to celebrate individual saints, so they said, well, we'll just celebrate all on one day. And then the next day is All Souls Day, which celebrates a broader category. Anyway, but it was a big celebration, especially during the medieval church. It was a big thing. They liked their feast days, and so the night before became kind of an extension of that celebration, and kind of where the imagery that you're talking about, the witches and ghouls and goblins and stuff comes from, is a mockery of the devil,
initial intention.
Yeah, the devil and his minions. And, the reason that we have the image of a devil with a pitchfork is because original depictions had the devil being stabbed by a pitchfork. It wasn't he was carrying it around. But that imagery, I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's changed. It's become kind of just, it's the opposite. It's no longer a mockery, and now it's kind of I don't want to say like glorification of it, but
it certainly is. I mean, we have sexy nurse vampires, and
that's true.
So when we look at these things, it's important. And I'll say this, Jonathan, because I know, we as Americans, we as people, because this is a universal thing, we hold our holidays and our traditions very dear to our heart. We have allowed them to become so ingrained in who we are and how we live that it's like, who are we without Halloween? Like, how do we celebrate without Christmas? And things that were celebrations and things that were created by man have become so ingrained in who we are as people that we somehow translate them into our faith. And I understand that, but I also have to think about the fact that, when we have these celebrations, let's take Christmas, for example, Halloween, Christmas, these holidays that exist, right? The premise in which things were maybe initially created may have a pseudo-Christian existence. However, we've allowed those things that we consider that may be sacred. We've allowed capitalism and paganism to hijack those things and to create and make them something that they no longer have any resemblance to what the initial intent was.
We need to take a quick break, but that's where I want to go next. Okay. I want to say we've gotten into the history a little bit. Okay, this is where it came from. This is how each of us feel about how it should be celebrated. When we come back, I want to talk about kind of where things have gone. How does Halloween look today? How is it celebrated? And is there anything we should be doing differently? We're going to take a quick break. Talking with Kareem Bowen here on the Art Lewis Show on WSGW.
Gotta go.
Welcome back to the Art Lewis Show. Jonathan Dent filling in for Art today. I'm here with Kareem Bowen, the host of the weekend show United Shades of Grey here on WSGW, and U of M football superfan, right?
Yeah, right. You got jokes now, Jonathan. Go green.
I'm not going to respond to that one.
Your response.
Yeah. We're talking about Halloween and how it's celebrated.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing it now, but I wore a costume to work today.
Were you dressed as Jonathan?
It's in the other room.
You're dressed as Art Lewis.
I'm dressed as Art Lewis. No. I wore an orange jumpsuit because when we switched over from Alpha Media to Connoisseur Media, our new email addresses were at conmedia.com. So I thought I better get the standard Con Media work outfit, and I decided to wear it today. But
That's funny. That's funny.
Not everybody's wearing it. So.
Jonathan, we talked about Halloween before, and I kind of shared my thought. You didn't really clearly give your vision or what you are.
No. So originally, I was kind of of the opinion that we're talking about, for those who just tuned in, we're talking about like how Halloween is celebrated. Should it be celebrated? We are both men of faith.
Yeah.
We've talked about this on your program from a perspective of faith before. And getting into the history of it and all of that in the last segment, I kind of thought, whatever, let the kids have fun, go out and trick or treat. I wasn't allowed to go trick or treating as a kid. And it wasn't my dad.
Really?
It wasn't my dad who was in seminary to become a pastor who said no. It was my mom. I've been trick or treating once in my life ever, and it was when I was in
Are you serious?
8th grade or something. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But it was a family time. We'd go out, we'd watch a movie, and then the next day, I got to go pick out my candy because all of it was on a discount after Halloween. So it was a pretty good deal for me.
Mom was being frugal.
Mom was being nice. My sister, though, 10 years younger than me, got to go trick-or-treating every year.
It's interesting that you say that because I notice I have an older stepbrother that we grew up with. Then I have a younger stepbrother. Then we were kind of like 2 years apart. And then my younger brother, who's 16 years younger than I am. The rules that we lived by are no longer the rules.
No.
I think mom and dad are just tired of parenting. Like, do whatever you want.
Yeah,
as long as you stay alive, keep going.
But yeah, my opinion on Halloween was let the kids have fun, go out and do it.
Yeah.
It's changed somewhat in the last couple years, I think, and it's become all right. What has this holiday really become about? And I don't even mind so much the dressing up as a witch or whatever. Like that's historical. It can be traced back. Yeah, you're doing it differently. I kind of have a problem with the dressing up as Iron Man, dressing up as Elsa.
Really?
Because think about it from a position of faith.
Mm-hmm.
If you're dressing up as a witch, a devil, a goblin, whatever, you're not doing it seriously, like most of the time. People aren't doing this like, oh, I love witches. Oh, I love goblins. That's not generally, but, oh, I love Iron Man, so I am going to imitate Iron Man. I'm going to become Iron Man. It's almost idolatry in my eyes.
Jonathan, I am so confused by that. I am so confused by the philosophy that you're using here.
Really?
Yeah, this is very interesting to me.
Okay.
I'm completely confused.
Now, I do think, like, I've never touched a Ouija board or stuff like that. I'm never gonna.
I have, unfortunately.
That stuff-
I have when I was a kid.
I think that when you say it opens the door to your soul,
yeah.
I think that kind of thing genuinely does. It matters what you engage with. And, well, I don't think that every time you touch a Ouija board, oh, you're being corrupted. It's a risk.
But, Jonathan, okay, as a man of faith, and this is what's confusing is that you use, like, if you just said, hey, I don't have an issue with witches and things of that nature, it's the Iron Man. But when you say, as a person of faith, I don't have a problem with the witches, but I have a problem with the Iron Man, it's confusing to me because, like, Wiccanism is like a real thing.
It is.
And so there are people who practice and they'll say it's a religion of light, but there are practicing witches who consider it their faith.
And when you look at the tradition, when you think of the witch with the green skin and the wrinkled face, exactly,
Okay.
that
was pretty darn good.
That was really good. That was done in a similarly kind of mocking way in the medieval times, saying, if you people who are practicing this stuff, it's ugly. It's a reflection of their soul or whatever. Like that was kind of it was similarly in a mocking way. It can be drawn back to that historical perspective, and people who are dressing up like that nowadays aren't maybe some of them are, but that's not kind of the intention behind most of it. Most of it is, it's the fun Halloween time.
Yeah.
But most of them aren't doing it as a, look, I'm a practicing Wiccan.
But okay, so I say this, and this is purely Kareem, and it's funny because this is really interesting. Okay, so the interesting thing is, as I have evolved as a person, and as I've evolved as a young man to now being a young man of faith, I'm going to keep that young man title. I don't care how old I get. Now, as a young man of faith who has the responsibility to teach and to educate and to share, right? I believe there's a responsibility for me to be biblically accurate, and also there's a thin line between what the Bible says and then inflicting my personal views in a particular situation, right? Mm-hmm. And I hate when people do that, because we've had that for so many years. There's so many people who are screwed up because people have taught religion and not necessarily doctrine, and those are two very different things. And so it's unfortunate that our religion doesn't equal Bible doctrine, but it's the facts, right? So I'm in a place where I personally have evolved and have come into it. I don't want to say evolved. My life and my understanding has evolved, but my position has come into a revelation. I would say it has been revealed. That I no longer, I see it Halloween, and I think Ephesians, the 6th chapter, verses 10 through 18. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against spiritual wickedness in high places, the rulers of the darkness of the world. And it talks about the believer being armed and prepared for this battle that is being waged. And it's not a battle that I think that when I look at CeeLo kids dressed as jack-o'-lanterns and pumpkins, that's not the battle. But it is the spirit behind the essence of Halloween. Like, I'm a firm believer that things that exist naturally, there are spirits attached to everything. And so when we look at people, sometimes you may go somewhere and someone's just really mean and evil. I don't always assign it to that person, but like, what is that person's spirit being tormented by? Because really, to be evil and mean, it is a spiritual condition for me. So when I look at the celebration of Halloween and I look at these costumes that most people are like, oh, they're just costumes, let the kids have fun. I personally believe that there is a spirit attached to those costumes, and celebrating and thinking that the things that exist and the things that we do, and celebrating with candy. If we look at the types of things that have also been attached, the horrors, the Devil's Night, the burning of houses, and for a long time, and I still don't like seeing kids go out and trick or treat, because I just don't believe it's safe. Because even though it is positioned as fun for kids, there are so many people with ill intentions. When you're taking candies from we teach stranger danger, but then we let kids go knock on doors of people that they don't know. So it's just those kind of things that I'm somewhat conflicted as now, as I push this and I share this with the church. I have to be careful to share what Bible doctrine says, and people have to make their own decisions. I believe that's how the Bible intends it to be. Yeah,
and I think when we're talking about I've got 2 points here.
Yeah.
The first one being, when we're talking about the doctrine and the biblical sense of things, we're taught that the victory is won. This is also in the Lutheran Church. It's Reformation celebration.
Okay.
October 31st is when Martin Luther nailed the 95 Theses to the church door in Wittenberg. A famous Luther hymn, "A Mighty Fortress is Our God," he says, "Though these all be gone, the victory has been won, the kingdom ours remaineth." And if you think about biblically, fear not the one who can destroy the body, but fear he who can destroy body and soul in hell.
Absolutely.
That's God.
Absolutely.
Fear God. The rest is all. There's nothing else to be afraid of.
No, absolutely.
And I'd say be afraid of. There's nothing else to fear as a sign of respect. So if you're taking it as a ha-ha, nana, boo-boo victory lap, great. But here's my second point. That's not what the holiday has become. The holiday has become this spirit, as you say, of greed, of overindulging, of idolatry. In my opinion, the lifting up of these cultural icons as being you're not declaring victory over Taylor Swift by dressing up as Taylor Swift. I think that becomes an issue for me, and kind of the consumerist, like, secularization of the holiday has really so much overshadowed it that on the one hand, I can understand for myself, I see no problem in celebrating Halloween. I think your point, when you were talking a couple years ago, last year, whenever we talked about this on your show, was what are we showing our neighbor? When we say that we live by faith, we walk by faith, and our neighbor sees us doing these things,
that's it. What
does that do for our neighbor?
Not our neighbor's faith in what we believe. And so you hit it. You hit the nail on the head. There's a term that I often share in service, and it is cultural Christianity. There's a phraseology or whatever. Cultural Christianity, and you know what that is. Yeah. It's when a person takes, my belief, they take on so many aspects of what culture has, the dominant culture, the world culture, what has become acceptable practice because it's what we've always done, and it's fun, and it feels good. It's great to celebrate. And we make that a part of, we make our faith okay with culture. And my personal belief is that faith is counterculture. It is often in opposition to what culture says. And so my fear, and I see this, and you coined it perfectly, I don't live so that other people say, oh, I live, look at how good he is, because that's foolish, right? But I want to be pleasing in how he views me. And in terms of my relation, and that goes across the board. So if I say that I'm a believer, and I that I struggle with the term Christian.
I do.
If I say that I'm a believer in Christ's word, and that's who I am, and that's what I represent, I want to make sure that my life does exactly that. Now, has it always been that way? Absolutely not. Because I think all of us has a bit of hypocrite that continually.
Kareem, the church is full of hypocrites, and there's always room for one more.
Right. So as I try to step away from those things that are not consistent with what my faith would denote, those things become important to me. I want people, when they see me, to be able to see my desire to fully embrace what it means to be a believer.
Absolutely.
And so celebration, go ahead.
We need to take a break.
Oh, another break. Here we go.
We'll take a quick break. We'll come back talking with Kareem Bowen here on WSGW.
Mutual Protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody. Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling?
Welcome back to the Art Lewis Show. Jonathan Dent filling in for Art today. The Art Lewis Show is presented by Westside Decorating Center. You can visit them at 5789 State Street in Saginaw, or go online to westsidedecoratingcenter.com. I'm talking with Kareem Bowen. He's the host of United Shades of Grey here on WSGW on the weekends. And I think we should mention, we've mentioned that we're both men of faith, but you mentioned your church. You're a pastor.
I'm a pastor as well.
Can you? Where are you a pastor?
I'm a pastor at the Potter's Church Ministries, International Ministry here in Saginaw. And it's funny because people are like, why is it International Ministry? We actually, I actually do training sessions for pastors in India. There's a group of Christian pastors that I actually monthly do Bible talks and training. And what does the Great Commission mean? So there's about 15 of them that I meet on a regular basis. That's where the international comes from. But yeah, so we are a Christian, a Bible Christian. I said that word, a Bible believing, Bible teaching ministry that believes in unlocking people's potential through use of the Scripture and just like real sound practice and good living.
So this just came to mind here.
Yep.
We only have a couple minutes in this segment. We got to move along soon. But I think it's important to highlight the conversation that we're having right now. Mm-hmm. It is from a perspective of faith. We're talking about whether Halloween should be celebrated, how it should be celebrated, from a perspective of faith.
Yeah.
We are both from different faith backgrounds.
Absolutely.
We talked a little bit during the break there, off the air, about the role of Catholicism in establishing Halloween as a thing.
I made a joke. It was a joke.
We don't need to get into.
I'll say it. I think it's
But-
because it's funny. It's something that I say tongue in cheek, but it leads to a greater conversation. But go ahead.
Yeah, but basically, we come from two pretty much different traditions. I'm LCMS Lutheran. I'm
Yeah.
a confessional Lutheran. We believe that we are Catholic, lowercase c, not Roman Catholic.
And
but-
that's something that you taught me. I didn't know that.
yeah, and so we hold that tradition. I'm going to be celebrating All Saints Day on Sunday at our church. That's something that's going to be happening, and we celebrate all of these different feast days and,
Right.
and holidays and things with certain exceptions. But you don't. Is that an accurate way to put it?
Well. What when
Or
you
not
say
in the
I
same
don't,
way.
I don't do what?
Like All Saints Day,
Okay.
All Hallows Eve, stuff like that.
Yeah,
That's
no.
not part of your tradition.
No, it's not.
So
Until I had friends that were in those spaces, I didn't even know what they were.
yeah, the reason that I say that is the point of United Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
And we try and highlight this as often as
Yeah.
we can. Is we disagree.
Yeah, sometimes very passionately.
Sometimes very passionately, but we remain respectful during
Absolutely.
the conversations.
Yeah.
And after the microphones get turned off, you would think we're screaming at the top of our lungs at each other with the conversations that we sometimes have. Often, we turn the microphones off and we sit for a second and we go, that was a really good conversation.
No, absolutely. And I'm glad you're saying that, Jonathan, because it is about modeling and giving a format for all of us on how we have. We often shy away from the tough conversations and we shy away from the things that are different. But what that show centers around is really building a space where we can model that. Why not lean into those conversations?
Yep.
And one of the premises that we set before we even started the show was like, hey, we're going to make this commitment to each other that we're always going to be respectful. We're always going to provide a lot of grace. And we're going to be honest with where we are. And then we're going to protect one another. I know that when I come to WSGW, which the show airs on, there's a lot of people that feel very differently than how I am. And you all have been very, and even Art, who's not on the show, but when the conversation comes up because he's on WSGW, he has been very gracious and he supports the fact of that we have the right to be and to say the things that we say. And in likewise, on where topics or where you guys are on the other side of the coin and people come in and say things, we protect each other. And I think that that's what's important, that we have to care enough about one another, that we provide safe spaces from people who are naysayers to the types of conversations that we're having.
Absolutely. The reason that I'm saying this
Yeah.
is often in this space, the Art Lewis Show, tempers flare a little bit, passions rise.
I'm here for it.
But I want everybody to know that that's the kind of thing that we try to address, and that it's really constructive.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you need to keep an open mind. I'm not going to tell you to keep it. You can close your mind off and yell and scream all you want.
Yeah.
But it's so much more fun to actually entertain different ideas and have these exchanges.
And not only that, Jonathan, but what I think is really cool, and it's what you just said. We had a conversation, and when we were talking about Charlie Kirk, and the entire world was divided, right?
Yeah.
So why stay in a silo where everyone thinks in this echo chamber the same way that you think? And what we dare to do in those situations, that we have those conversations. We get very heated and passionate about those things. Sometimes when we go off the air, it's not like, oh, wow, that was great. It's like, wow, Kareem, I was offended by what you said. And I'm like, Jonathan, I'm sorry you feel that way, but hey.
Yeah.
And then we take that time that we're apart from those sessions and we kind of really process them. You'll send me messages via text. I'll send them back to you. Mark is kind of sometimes the great mediator because Mark is the man with no political affiliation in this season. Neither am I, but you understand what I mean. And so we have those conversations, and many times it challenges us to think about things that we would never really be challenged to think about. And both of us have had experiences. We would say, I never thought about it that way. So, I understand that. I may not agree, but I certainly understand it.
And we got to close that. We got to take a break here. But
Yep.
I just closing out this conversation. Often when you engage in these conversations, you challenge your own beliefs. Either you will begin to change your beliefs in a
Right.
way in accordance with new information, or you will strengthen your beliefs.
Absolutely.
Like, if you understand how to articulate what you believe and really talk about it, you are going